Hi, I'm Andrew at Baker's Gas, and we're here today with the all-new Tomahawk 30 Air by Lincoln Electric. So today in this video, this thing just came out. We're going to go over its functions, its capabilities, what this thing has to offer for you guys in the garage and the home hobby guys, and then out in the field as well for portability. Let's just dive right into it. So this just came out. It is a 30 Air. So what that means is it has its own air compressor. And then you can also run it off of a air compressor as well. So you can see on the back here we got a little nipple for an air compressor, so it'll do both. But it has an internal air compressor, and I'll show you guys that later. It kicks on, it's a little bit loud, but we'll go over that. And then obviously on the front, we can pick between compressor or external air. And then you can set your external air pressure right on the front of the machine. Very easy access, pretty cool how you can do that. We got run, purge, so we can purge our lines. And then we just obviously turn it run. So we can go 15 amps all the way up to 30 amps. So biggest question we get is, how thick can this thing cut? So recommended 3/8 plate. It'll sever 1/2 inch. So in the competition world, there's only one other air powered, or they have an air compressor built in. Very similar as far as that goes, as far as recommended settings and severance settings. I've seen people cut thicker than that 1/2 inch part too. So that's just a recommended thing for severance, obviously. And then 3/8, it'll cut that all day long on running at 30 amps with its own air compressor. This thing does keep up with its own air compressor too. It does work really well. It's fairly quiet, but it's not too bad. So this is generator capable too. So you can run it on your 260 or your 330 MPX, no problem. It'll run, plug right in the front of it. I'll show you guys too. It comes with a molded 220 plug right on the back. We got our plugged into 220, so it should fit right up to the 330 or the 260, and then it'll run it no problem as far as that goes. So the gun, we got a 10-foot torch, so pretty good for accessibility. You put it on your table and you can reach out 10 foot, but it is fairly light. So if you do need to do a portable thing, just pick it up, run with it. It's got a 10-foot cord on the back, so you got a little bit of distance you can run it. And obviously we're running off a 25-foot extension cord too, so if you have an extension cord, that's always a good thing. The torch itself, it's an LC30. It's got a safety lever, and then obviously your trigger there. So you got to have that up and then pull the trigger before it'll fire. As far as the consumables go, we got a little standoff guide here, and what that's for is just you hold it right on the plate. There's no high freak start. So you just hold it on the plate, pull the trigger, it initiates the arc. Then this is more of a guide, so it stands off the plate, so you're not dipping that nozzle down into the plate. Let's just see here. So we have our nozzle there. Obviously our retaining cap here, that gray material, that gray part. So it's got a fiberglass heat shield on that thing, and then this thing comes off as well, and that's got a part number on it too, inscribed on the side. So if you need to buy another one, obviously very easy to do. Part number on the nozzle too as well. And then the electrode, kind of interesting enough, it comes with this little wrench. So don't throw that out. It was actually zip tied to the torch itself. But what that does is it goes around there, and then you just loosen your electrode up, and then your electrode comes right out. And that is your, drop the swirl ring. So that is your electrode right there, just a little guy. But we'll link all these parts down below. And there's your swirl ring right there, and that went around there, so that helps direct the air coming out of the compressor in this thing. So we're going to put it back together, and then just snug this up. Nothing crazy. We don't want to be over tighten that. What happens when you over tighten it? It strips out that head inside there. So we'll just snug it, and then obviously a little wrench gets stuck on there, but then the nozzle goes on, and then retaining cap, everything goes back together. There we go. So if you don't have the consumables in the right order, this will throw an error code right here, and what it does is it tells you, hey, you got something wrong, something's not in there right, or your retaining cap's not pushed all the way down in there because there's a detent, and it's got to push that detent in to make sure everything's good to go. Obviously on the front, we've got our power light, our overheat light, whether our consumables are bad or not, and then this is your, if you're cutting, that's going to light up saying that it initiated the arc. But very simple to run, no digital display as you can see, but it's very Simple. This here is an air filter for the compressor. So when it's sucking air in, that's basically the air filter for the thing. We got our ground cable, which seems to be about 25 feet. So it's a very nice ground, heavy duty. And then our torch here is just it threads in. I'll show you the back end of that torch here. And see, we're getting an error code because I don't have the torch all the way in now. So now it's pulling out of there. There's the back end of that torch. It only goes in one way, so be aware of that. You can't mess it up, but I've seen people mess it up. Try and force it in. It doesn't need to be forced in. It just needs to go on there and then just snug that up, and you're all set. Our error went away. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you guys what it does. When I go to pull the trigger, we got it on compressor, so you're going to hear the air compressor fire up. And then you're going to see an arc, extinguish an arc here. So. I just shut there. If you double click that trigger, it shuts the air compressor off, just so it isn't constantly running. But then our little high fan kicks on, cooling off that inverter. But other than that, it's very quiet. You can see here, I mean, that fan's running. It's not very loud at all. So as far as portability, warranty, it's got a 3-year warranty. It's very, very portable. Lincoln's got a great name. They back this thing. Obviously, if anybody's ever dealt with Lincoln warranties, they're awesome. You just tell them what went wrong, as long as it wasn't inflicted upon a machine by a human being and something internally went wrong or something went wrong with the gun, they will warranty it. So no problem with that. I mean, they are very good. And as far as the price point goes, it's great. It's really good compared to the competition. And if you're on the fence about wanting to buy a home-use plasma cutter and you don't have a good enough air compressor, this would be a great option because it's got a built-in compressor. And as far as price point goes, I'd steer you right to this one if you're price conscious as that when it comes to buying a plasma cutter. A lot of people say, well, do I really need one? Why don't I just buy a cutting torch? You know, I sit on the fence on that. Sometimes I use a cutting torch for different things, thicker material, if I got to get something out of the way in a hurry. But if you want to do some precise cutting, and you just got to slice some stuff, I mean, this is perfect for it. So compared to a cutting torch, I mean, really, at the end of the day, if you got a cutting torch set up and a plasma cutter and an air compressor built in, you're almost going to be at the same dollar amount for both of them when they're set up and ready to rock. And obviously, as anyone knows, a cutting torch takes a little bit more skill to operate than a plasma cutter. You just pull the trigger and you go, as far as that goes. If you guys got any questions or comments, please leave them down below. We'll link this thing down below with the price and all the accessories you can get with it, the consumables. Thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for some more.